Getting a little excited there. Great to see you guys. Awesome to see you, Tolemykus, Charles Latora, William Arends. Yeah, thanks again for sending me another ATA. Fantastic stuff. And like I said, you're going to be jumping the queue a little bit. Great to see you as well, Brian R. Smith. And I forgot to mention that last week, and I'm sure other people have seen it as well, that you changed your little avatar thing. So that's cool. Chris, I sent you an email with pictures. Yes, about the video you made about making count. Really? Oh, I didn't see that yet, William Arends. So thanks. Anyways, let's get to, let's get to the quote first, for goodness sakes. Tolemykus, the Great War, and I haven't even read it yet, for goodness sakes. The Great War was one of ferocity, without chivalry and magnanimity, and sometimes without mercy. Cy Peck, a Canadian Victoria Cross winner. Elbows up, wicked. Great to see you. Like I said, great. Thank you so much, Tolemykus. Let me hide the thingamajig here. What is going on? Oh, there we go. Okay. It's just because there's been so many comments since we've been here. Anyways, let me pop on the screen and away we go. Just remember, as a side note, Harro Bosma won't be here this week or next week. And we were going to have the 3-year anniversary live stream community give back show or whatever next week. And like I said, I want to try to make that the anniversary show the week before March to Victory. However, since Harro Bosma is not going to be around, we're going to bump it to the 29th, and that's fine. It gives me an extra week to prepare some more material because, like I said, I really want to start. Basically, the show is going to be just trying to give back to you guys as much as humanly possible. So every time I'm trying to, I think, see things Great War related, and it, also is related to any of you guys, I'm like, okay, put a little note there and try to put something off to the side. Anyways, let's share the screen so we can go from there, and it should show it. No, come on, don't you do that, you silly little goose. Let's see, did it work? Oh, of course it did. I just haven't. I'm like, what's wrong with the thing? I haven't put the window on there. It's this one. I want this one, correct? No, it's, oh, there we go. There we go. Now we're back to normal. All right, so you guys can see that. Yep, it's not too bad. Great to see you, Meandering Mike. Hope you're doing well. Yes, 61 days to can games, and registration is open to the public now. It's not just like game masters, people who want to run any of the events kind of thing. So that's awesome. Please let me know what you've been up to this week. It'd be great to know what you've been up to. I mean, I obviously know a few things when I get to watch Charles Latora or whatever, and stuff like that, or get on the live streams, which I haven't done, but anyways, I get to find out what people are up to. Anyways, this I found really interesting as we're going to get into the live stream fact checker and whatnot. I'm still trying to figure out why in the world there was no material whatsoever for March 13th, 1917 in the Globe database. I have no idea. But that set me off onto a side thingamajig, which hopefully we will get to. This blew me away. I'm assuming that William Arends says here, the Great War was a war of ignorance, proper modern strategies as well. Oh boy, eh? Let's just go. I'll let you do your thing there. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, Harro Bosma? I'm great to see you. Hi there, just checked in. Show us an hour earlier than usual. Oh my God, of course, that's right. I forgot. I was just mentioning that actually last week with Zoe Dufour. The fact that we had changed the clocks and Europe hadn't done so yet. Anyways, this blew me away. You guys probably know more than I do, but Lenin is not in Russia yet. I'm like, what? This like I said, I don't know too much about what's going on right now. I know that obviously that the Tsar just abdicated and whatnot, and they're starting up the provisional government. But now there's that two-sided thing going on. There's the Kerensky-ish government or whatever, and then there's also this People's Soviet or whatever that seems to be popping up left, right, and center. But I guess Lenin isn't in Russia yet, so maybe he's going to be the thing that tips the balance the other way for the other guys. This is a little nod to you, William Arends, for your last ATA that you sent me into here. I just threw this in because I thought was kind of neat. the jealousy of California towards Japan. That was one of the things that the thing that you sent there for the article, which I thought was neat. And every time I see this mentioned in some of the articles, the way that they mention the Dutch people here, I'm like the Hollanders. I just think it's just so wild. Anyways, the connection, and this is another thing I would like to get into. I don't know if it is connected. Like I said, I'm just trying. I was putting the connecting the dots to them, which was I saw last week, I think, 2 articles, I think on the same day. I'm not positive about that. But one was about the Kaiser commuting the sentences of 2 Belgian women. And then on another article was about the commuting the sentence of a German spy. And they never mentioned the German spy, but it's in England or whatnot. Kilroy was here. Great to see you. Hopefully you're doing great as well. Oh my gosh, there we go. Yay, we're going to get my answer. Lenin entered Russia via SEAL train in April 1917. Okay, so obviously now the Germans are like, okay, go, Lenin, and go do your stuff. Fantastic. And Charles Latora says, put together an MDF building and working on an BF 110 that should get painted this afternoon. Then I don't know what a BF 110 is, so you're going to have to let me know if that's an airplane or whatever. But anyways, like I said, I don't know if these are, like, is that like behind the scenes diplomatic stuff going on where like, okay, we'll commute the 2 sentences of the Belgian women. We won't execute them or whatever the heck we're going to do, and don't execute this German spy. We'll just send him to a life sentence as well. I don't know. I just found that really interesting. The Dardanelles report just came out right now. And of course, lots of people don't want to have the dirt thrown on them, or, you know what I mean? Or try to wipe something off their shoes. This I found a little underhanded, and I don't know. It could be completely valid. I don't know. But I found it a little underhanded last week when I saw an article about, and I got to go and read it, is blaming Lord Kitchener for the Dardanelles fiasco or something like he signed off on it. And I'm like, boy, that's really nice. He's dead. Like, thanks a lot for letting him freaking, try to, I was just like, I just didn't like that. Lacrimosal shells. I noticed that in an article this week as well. I think it is some form of tear gas. From what I was reading on the Wikimedia thing. All right, and this Harro Bosma, if you're still around, I'm not sure if you are. I think I was mentioning to you guys that I've fallen in love with the word. At first I thought it was direct flusser or fresser, which it says in my book, the slogans for the thing. But then I looked it up. I put it in a little Google Translate or whatever the hell, DuckDuckGo Translate. What am I saying? And it came out Schlam Vielfrasch, which is mud glutton. Like I said, I love calling you guys the mud gluttons. No, I just think it's just still got the trench vibe to it in the whole 9 yards. I don't know. I just think it's kind of like a term of endearment as far as I'm concerned. I don't know where the heck Lodge is. I don't even know if that's how you spell it properly, but I keep noticing this popping up and whatnot. So I don't know if it's like somewhere around like near India or somewhere or whatever. The Shamir tribe and the Aze tribe, I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but supposedly they were instrumental right now in Persia, helping out the British and whatnot. So I thought that was interesting. I noticed lately as well that Stuart Lyon, a Canadian press correspondent, has been going to the front and doing all kinds of extra stuff for the Globe and Mail. I looked him up. I can't find barely anything about him, so I'm going to try to do that. This I found interesting because, as far as I know, this is going to happen after. So obviously, there's going to be an extra session or a pre-extra session in Congress, because there's one scheduled for April 16th, as far as I know. And from what I know, I think the United States declares war before that. I'm pretty sure. You guys could fill me in, I hope. The war summary mentions that in the addition to hurling gas shells and gas bombs, the German rearguard also was hurling gas jars. I was like, what the hell? I don't know about you, but to me, I just had this vision of like empty peanut butter jars. It just seemed weird. A war summary mentions that the British captured. Now, I just thought this was a really interesting number. I'm not sure if I mentioned it last week. No. Of course, I recorded the war summary, I think, on Sunday or Monday. I went backwards this week to try to get a lot of the stuff done ahead of time. But anyways, it mentions that along a 3-mile front, they captured German prisoners, obviously, and 15 machine guns. And I went, what? That is a monstrously high number from what I've been seeing over the weeks and months in the articles. And then so I went and looked, I divided that up to find out that one machine gun for every 352 yards. I don't know if that is a concentrated number or a spread out number, but to me, that sounds pretty good. One, I don't know if you guys think about that for like crossfire or whatever, because machine guns can go way past 352 yards, for goodness sakes, as far as I know. Maybe I'm wrong. Meandering Mike says a BF-100 is a German fighter bomber manufactured by Bayerisch, forget it, typically called a Messerschmitt. Oh, thanks, man. Thank you very, very much. Right, and then please let me know if you've been playing any World War I related games. I saw some interesting reviews. One was a text one on BGG for the Habsburg Eclipse, which we're going to put in. So on one engagement question of the week this week. Would the Entente have supported the Russian provisional government if they were not trying to persuade the USA to join them in the war? Now, what I mean by that is, right now, as you know, they are trying to promote the Russian provisional government. And I'm thinking, would they have done that, though? Because, I mean, obviously, they're trying to show from what I've been reading as well, is that, they're trying to show the United States, hey, we're here for the rights of the free people, rights of freedom and whatnot. Here we are, like they've just overthrown a totalitarian czar kind of thing and whatnot. Oh, great to see you, Hissy Cat. I hope you're doing well, man. But then on the flip side, it's like they were supporting the czar, and for goodness sakes, the guy's related to them. As we all know, for goodness sakes, he looks almost identical to King George. For God's sakes, it's insane, that type of stuff. So I'm just like, I'm just curious if there's that other level of whatever, but who knows. Anyways, here now we're going to get into the trivia, and I can start popping them into this. So you can see everybody's getting kind of crunched up. It was neat to see who was it. I think Kilroy was here. You bumped it up there. Tolemykus says the United States declared war on Germany. So there we go. 10 days before the extra session, after Woodrow Wilson addressed Congress and cited repeated acts of aggression by the American government. So maybe I got the wrong. Date. I'll have to go and take a look. Zoe Dufour, you cross stitching while I watch. Well done. Awesome, man. That's what I'd be doing, something like that. Anyways, yeah, as far as I know, Kilroy was here. You jumped up a few people. So let's go to the first clue. And like I said, I'll also pop it into the whatever. And as you know, per usual, I'm trying as much as possible to be very general with the very first clues. And then we, start slunkering down. And if there's anybody new out there, I don't know, I don't know who's watching or whatever, except for looking at the comments, is that, and here's your first clue, which I like to do a lot, is I've been in the news a lot recently to try to sucker people into going to the daily headlines on my community post. So you can start getting some ideas that's probably perhaps where I'm getting the who or what am I in World War I. Anyways, so if there's anybody new out there, even guessing, you're going to get a point. And if you get the thing, you get an additional 6 points. I think that's how I've been doing it, kind of thing. I've been pretty whatever. So there you are. And oh yeah, I said I was going to put it in the thing, which I didn't do. Hold on here. And see, William Arends, we're already 13 minutes in and haven't done anything. So there we go. Let me put this into the post the comment. There we go. All right. And there. And Manny Mike says economic distress, and he's going to get a point, but you're incorrect. And I don't know where the heck my glasses are, so I hope I don't need them later. Oh boy. All right, so there we go. I'm going to give you your second clue then. I seem to have come on the scene almost 6,000 years ago. Who am I? Or what am I? Tolemykus says a cowlick. You're going to get a point for that. Oh my God. I'm not kidding you, Tolemykus. I really wish. I haven't done it yet. Kilroy was here, says Marshal Petain. Well done, but you are not. You're going to get a point for it, but you are incorrect. Yeah, poor guy. Hold on, let me put it into the corner. I know why I say that, Tolemykus, is I don't know what's been going on. Well, I've seen this before. this past week, you wouldn't believe how many cow pictures there's been in the Globe and Mail of like, oh, this Duchess does this and it's produced this much butter in so many days. And I'm like, oh, I'm keep thinking to myself, should I put this in as a World War I image of the day? But I'm like, okay, don't start doing this silly nonsense. So let me put the next clue in, and then I got to start giving people a bunch of points. But doubtful that anybody's going to get the right answer. William Arends' draft forces, you're going to get a point, William Arends, but you are incorrect. I'm giving you an extra point anyways because you do so much work for us. William Arends, you're going to get another point for cavalry, but you were incorrect. Tolemykus gets murder. You're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. William Arends says infantry formations and beer. You're going to get 2 extra points, 2 points for that, but you are incorrect. And now I'm going to get into the third clue. You know who I honestly think is going to get this one this week is Tolemykus. I just have a feeling. I don't know why I've been having this feeling for about 3 days about it. So there you go. I knew what I knew what the clue was going to be. So the answer. So there's your next one. The Industrial Revolution had an enormous impact on my growth. Who am I? And did I put that in? The wheel. Brian R. Smith says the wheel, and you are incorrect. But, oh my God, you guys are like freaking me out. You're so close in some ways, but I can't say anything. Hold on here. Hissy Cat says steel. You are incorrect, but you're going to get a point. William Arends says forged iron. You're going to get a point. Hold your horses. You guys are just driving me nuts. Oh my God, it's getting so close. Meandering Mike says woven fabric, and you are incorrect, but you're going to get a point. I think Tolemykus said thread, and I don't know if I popped that in, but you're also incorrect, and you're going to get a point though. And let me put in did I put that in the Hissy Cat says lead? It doesn't seem like I really need to put it in this time with the comments, but I'll put this one in, and then I'm going to go and hit I'll make sure that, hold on here. I don't know why it keeps doing that. There we go. So there's your next one, and then I'm going to put it in. I was a potential bargaining chip during the American Civil War. Who am I? Or what am I? Brian R. Smith says metallurgy. You're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. All right. Zoe Dufour says buttons. You are incorrect, but you're going to get a point for sure. Tolemykus says guns. You are also incorrect, but you're going to get a point. Oh, brother, this is interesting. I'm really, I am shocked. I thought for sure someone would have gotten this right off the bat. Like I said, I'll try to remember to explain why I picked these ridiculous clues. Oh my God, you guys are like just going around the drain pipe, but you're not going down the hole. William Arends says textiles, and you are incorrect, but you're getting another point. KilroyWasHere, you're going to says barbed wire. You are incorrect, but you're going to get a point. A Hissy Cat. Oh my God. Boom! Meandering Mike, you did it. Okay, I stopped. You guys are just throwing so many clues, which is fantastic. Zoe Dufour, hold on. I got to give everybody a point here. Spices, you're going to get a point, but as you know, you are incorrect. Brian R. Smith says critical minerals. You are incorrect, and it was not that person. Where are you? Where are you? Ah, there we go. That's it. Meandering Mike, that's it. Cotton. Yes, it's been in the news quite a bit lately. Let me finish off. So well done. And what did I have as the final one? So I was extremely hard to find in Germany, as you know, with the blockade and whatnot. And we even saw like, what was that, a couple of months ago where they were starting to make paper clothes and stuff like this. I mean, I shouldn't chuckle. I mean, they got to do whatever the heck they can do. And one of the places of interest for me also shares the name of a well-known miniatures manufacturer. And if you had been taking a look at some of and there's the answer, cotton. And let me go back to the contents. Nice one, Mike. Zoe Dufour says, Hissy Cats is hard to find in Germany. Waldo, hey, well done. William Arends says, that is what I meant by textiles. Oh, darn, William Arends. Well, I'll give you some points then. Yeah, cotton has been in the news quite a bit lately. I'll hold on here. Let me get rid of the banner, and maybe I'll try to go back to some of the thing. Yeah, so as you probably know, it's been some of the first recorded instances of cotton was back in with India and whatnot, and then the Industrial Revolution just made it like the production could go off the charts. India wasn't able to produce as much, so it spread across the world, as you know. And then with the Civil War, the Confederates trying to lure the British into that war. You guys know way more about this than I do. And also that right now, if you've been reading the headlines concerning the fact of Lancashire Cotton Group or whatever it is in that area, they've been having a big tiff with tiff about the tariffs and whatnot in India and whatnot. And of course, the British government is like, well, we got to be nice to India as well here. Like, I mean, good God, they're supplying us with troops and so on and so forth. It was shocking to find out how many Indian troops there were at the beginning of the war. Like even in Europe, it was like, what in the world? I remember it was a really high percentage. Anyway, so there you go. And of course, Lancashire Games is the miniatures manufacturer that I'm mentioning. So, okay, let's go here very quickly. So we did that. That's awesome. Let's go quick so I can go. I just want to zip by quick because we're 20 minutes in. I want to make sure that at least we see what I wanted to talk about. As per usual, we're not going to be able to talk about it all. And I was also mentioning to Zoe Dufour earlier in the week, and she agrees with me. I could probably do an hour show every day of the week on this stuff. I just won't stop. But so anyways, so we're going to obviously talk about Tolemykus's logic puzzles. Last week was the heroic rescue of the Ghost Army, 1917 Western Front. And we're going to look at the best course of action and the reasoning. And this week, we're going to get into the rescue of the Serbian army in 1916 in Greece. And you also mentioned, I also did bring a little bit of on Greece. Community contributions, William Arends, and the lunar eclipse. I hope to goodness, William Arends, there we go. No cotton here. There you go. Anyways, I said something about cotton. Oh, yeah, I don't know if we'll get to it. But I found some really interesting websites when I started going off into cotton. Well, I mean, cotton is powerful. I mean, they got some monster lobbyists out there. It was just like, holy moly. Anyways, they got some really good websites out there. William Arends, yeah, we're going to look at let's do this now. Let's go and take a look at your whatever. Capturing bales of cotton was as important to the Union war effort in the U.S. Civil War as was winning battles. Yes. Well, you know, like I said, you know more about that than I do, William Arends. Now, I'm not sure if we are going to get you your lunar eclipse pictures just in a wee bit here. But I did want to, what do I have? What is the first picture? Oh, yeah, it's the Ted Racer things. Remember, I mentioned last week, I thought it would be a good idea for us to take a look at some more. Greece and Spain are pretty much the only cotton producers in Europe. You mean now? Nowadays? Holy smokes. That's interesting to know. Things have certainly changed, eh? Yeah. Remember I said last week I wanted to start looking at some more maps and whatnot and get things into context. We will. For raw cotton. Thank you, Meandering Mike. Way we go. Yeah, that makes sense because, like I said, even today the Lancashire whatnots are still going there. Now, this animated description of Mesopotamia campaign by the British battalion in Iraq during World War I, it's over 6 minutes long. All right, there are some chunks that I can zip through quickly because nothing really happens. I will say this is that is that if you want to do a game of that battle or that area, I couldn't imagine a better. Wait until you see it. I hope to God we do, because it is. I was just when I watched it, I was like, "You've got to be joking." If I was a game designer, I'd be all over this thing. It's like so specific, it's ridiculous. This I just thought was kind of neat. I was like, "Wait a minute, I've got this upstairs as well." I watched the Stephen Dolges review on BGG, about 40 minutes. I really like him, as a lot of people know. He's a freaking awesome YouTuber and a really good game designer, game player, and knows his stuff. Anyways, he did a review on and a playthrough of 1918-1919 Storm of the West by Ted Racer, which is nice because that's the maps we're going to take a look at today. And I just thought that was kind of neat, considering that we just were talking about the Kaiserslaut Spence and Gable game last week and whatnot. And that's kind of like similar in a way. I mean, maybe a more modern take on it and whatnot. He liked the game. If we get to it, I doubt we will, as per usual. But if we do, we'll go to the 20-minute mark, I hope, and take a look at the CRT description that he gets into. So if you're going to watch it on the whatever, go to around to the 20 minutes if you're interested about his take on the CRT thing. It just kind of rekindled some, discussions I've had with Meandering Mike and whatnot about CRTs and so on and so forth. Third 3-year anniversary is coming up, like I said, in 2 weeks. I don't know if we're going to be doing a live stream next week. I'm not sure, just due to the fact I really want to make sure that I can get and some of the material that I want to get done for the 3-year anniversary is going to take a while. Latest issue of World War I Illustrated is out. Hopefully we'll take a look at the cover and the editor's thingamajig. The Outbreak, as just a little thing from one of the a book that I just picked up at the thrift store a little while ago. The introduction is a jaw dropper. I've mentioned this before, and hopefully we'll get to take a look a little bit of her stuff. It's such an indulgence for me just to share with you how good her writing is. Edith Wharton's thing they're fighting in France, they're fantastic. The Ted Racers 1917 maps we're going to take a look at. Like I said, Can Games registration is open for all. The Great War newspaper comparison, that came out due to the fact that when I was looking at the March 13th, why wasn't there one for 1917? Like I said, it didn't fall on a Friday the 13th, nor did it fall on a Sunday, because the Globe didn't publish back on Sundays back then. That's why I don't do one on a Tuesday, because we're 2 days behind. It's a Thursday right now in 1917. Then I went, wait a minute, I'm going to go and grab the entire newspapers for either the 14th or the 15th of March. I couldn't do it for 1 year. I couldn't remember what. But I wanted to see if we, and in the entire newspaper, I had to collate everything together. It doesn't matter. But I thought, maybe we can zip by quickly and see, can we see differences in the newspapers of how they were even portraying ads or anything? It's just be super quick. But just if we can take a look and go, oh my gosh, you can see like back in 1914, it is different than what it is in 1917. And even 15 to 17, as their war, they're less naive in how they're able to churn out stuff and that type of stuff. I was thinking about you when my copy came in. So there you go, Meandering Mike, wicked. Wait, I don't know if you've read it yet, but the editor's thing is freaking awesome. Well, let's go take a look. Let's do it. Well, no, we're going to do this first. And then trust me, I swear to God, we're 27 minutes in. I know. Right after we get to this, William Arends, we're going off into your Wonderland stuff. Trust me. I'm going to stop the screen. I'm going to present the screen. Do the thing here. There we go. I just wanted to, like I said, just get a bit more stuff into context. Which one is this? Oh, I was already looking up. That's why I was like, wait a minute, it's at the wrong spot. Brian R. Smith says, breaking news, Nicholas. Oh, thank you, Brian R. Smith. I forgot to mention that. I know. I was like, even today, I was like, boy, Chris, you should be making sure that you got something for World War. And I just get solely sidetracked. Thank you, Brian R. Smith. Awesome. Oh, my God. Thank you so much. Crisis, the exhausted Central Powers retrenched to await the Russian collapse, which we just found out has happened. The equally exhausted Allies attack everywhere but make no headway. Revolutionary fever strikes both sides, but the Allies fare worse. The Tsar falls in Russia, while the French army mutinies. The crumbling Ottomans get little respite. Gotta admit, it's awesome, isn't it, when these things happen on the day of the live stream for us? It's wicked. But like I said, I just put the image for the width, so we don't have to worry about anything. Ides of March, yeah. A last gasp offensive by the. Oh my gosh, you're right. Of course. What am I saying? And you're right. It is today too. My God. Oh my God. What the heck was he reading too? Christ on a crutch, Meandering Mike. I'm not kidding you. The Tsar Nicholas was reading something right now this week. Oh my God. I think it was some. I'm not sure if it was. I know he was. He wrote a letter because I was watching Indy 9L chat about it. He wrote a letter to his wife mentioning that he was going to take up backgammon. And I swear to God, I think he was reading something about the Romans. Could that be why? I mean, talk about weird. I mean, my God. Anyways, the last gap offensive by the Russians towards Lemberg, the 1st to 16th of July. So we're going to see that is followed by Hoffman's counterattack that all but finishes the Russian army. A Romanian offensive towards Marasti there fails. Mackinson's counteroffensive is halted with heavy losses. Yeah, remember we that was one of the bingo, Big Bertha bingo battles actually. The near impotent Ottomans follow the receding Russians and reclaim eastern Anatolia, which we'd also seen as well. Remember, and that's where some of the Armenians were like, oh, shit, we're screwed now. A new British advance takes Kut and Baghdad, which we know about, while forces, and oh gosh, that'll be a side thing I get to do. And let's go to the other one. Lawrence invigorates Arab revolt with a guerrilla campaign. And I don't know if we're going to get to her. Well, we're going to take a look at her a little bit. Is Gertrude Bell. I don't know how the hell she popped up on the scene. Gertrude Bell must have been in an article or something, but they called her the female Lawrence of Arabia. German bombers strike London and others. She had one heck of a history, that's for sure. Hold on here, I got to pop your thing on here. What complicates the ability to eat cottons, or should I have seen that? There's a natural chemical produced by cotton plants called gossypol. Gossypol is a toxic compound found in the cotton plant. Yeah, there was something, Tolemykus, very quickly when I was looking at, yeah, they were saying that it's actually a boil from the plant or something like kind of thing. Ice Fleece is hit by mutiny and disobedience. I think that's due to the fact they've been just sitting around doing absolutely nothing for how long. German bombers, and speaking of doing nothing, a hell of a lot of the allies up in the down in Salonika. Anyway, shush. Germans withdraw. We'll get there. Germans withdraw to the Siegfried or Hindenburg line, the Nivelle offensive, the French attack in the south, the British line in the north. And there we go. I'm not going to read it all so you guys can see it because I want to get to the other stuff. And William Arends says the German newspapers seem to go from overconfident reporting from the fronts to the vain hopes of the political actions and the unrestricted U-boat campaign. But let's be honest, William Arends, you and I both know darn well. You read between the lines, pardon the pun, and we can start seeing how flipping close Britain came. Oh my God, it was just like everything just worked out perfectly for them for timing wise. If you think about it, oh, if only Germany had waited maybe a little bit longer, but they couldn't wait a little bit longer, because they also have to worry about the seasons, harvest and whatnot. Oh, it's just fascinating, isn't it? So there we go. You guys are going to see that. Poof. So this is the World War I Illustrated, the newest edition. We're getting to your stuff, William Arends. I swear to God. But I wanted to just, I'm also trying to promote these guys as well, as much as humanly possible. Oh my God, there's, hold on, I went the wrong way. Hold on here. That's one of your guys, but we're going to do your image properly, William Arends. Hold on here. We're going to get to the 2. So there you go. So there's the, from the editor, I'm not going to read it too much, but I just wanted you to see how engaging the editor's page is, just all the questions. There you go. You can see all these neato things. Oh, there it is. The Siberian Expeditionary Force down there in Vladivostok. And reading a bit about it in the magazine this week, finding out there was Canadians involved with that. I was like, what in the world? I thought that was rather interesting. So we've done that. Let's go. Hold on here. I just want to make sure that I'm looking at everything. Okay, we're doing your clips first. William Arends, just want to look at that, but I want to get to your. Hold on, I want to bring it to show it properly. I love the other 2 shots, William Arends. Really like them. Hold on here. I'm going to make sure that. So this is William Arends. I went outside my house on Friday morning to see and take pictures and a short video of the lunar eclipse. Which, anyways, I didn't get to see the. Did you? No, you did. I already did this one. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one. Hold on. Now I know why. Anyways, I didn't name it properly. So here we go. Here's your second one. You're going to see some really funky. Look at that. I just love that picture. And you got another one, which is like that as well. And I love it. I don't know. It just reminds me of those old, you would see the old let's say a Hubble shot or whatever they're doing, like the Kuiper belt or something. I like those things. Anyways, let's go very quickly to the images, and then we can go off to the other stuff, because I really want you guys to see how wonderful her writing is. And hold on here, and I can, let's put me a little bit sideways, for goodness sakes, as long as we make her thing go boink. So this is, like I said, I just absolutely adore her writing. But look at this. Look at the way she writes about one of the villages here. The first we came to was Le Mans, a large village wiped out as if a cyclone had beheaded it. I was like, you've got to be joking. I had a hard time holding the phone steady, William Arends. Well, I'm glad you did have a hard time, because I love the shot. Then comes Revigny, a town of over 2,000 inhabitants, less completely leveled because of its houses were more solidly built, but a spectacle of more tragic desolation, with its wide streets winding between scorched and contorted fragments of masonry, bits of shop fronts, handsome doorways, the colonnaded court of a public building. A few miles farther lies the most piteous of the group, the village of Helis-le-Marout, once pleasantly set in gardens and orchards, now an ugly waste like the others, and with a little church so stripped and wounded and dishonored that it lies there by the roadside like a human victim. In this part of the country, which is one of many crossroads, we began to have, and this I thought was really cool when I was reading it, that's why I wanted to share it with you, to have unexpected difficulty in finding our way, for the names and distances on the milestones have all been effaced, the signposts thrown down, and the enameled plaques on the houses at the entrance to the villages removed. One report has it that this precaution was taken by the inhabitants at the approach of the invading army. Another, that the Germans themselves demolished the signposts and plastered over the milestones in order to paint on them misleading and encouraging distances. The result is extremely bewildering, for all the villages being either in ruins or uninhabited, there's no one to question but the soldiers one meets, and their answer is almost invariably, we don't know, we don't belong here. I also loved that bit of we don't belong here. I thought, I mean, it just that extra little meaning of, no, you don't belong here. You should be at home. You know, it's just, wow. That just knocked me sideways. I'm going to do this because I don't want you guys to see. I'm going to cheat. I want you to see a little bit. I'm not trying to be whatever, but I want you guys to have the, hopefully have the same impact that I had when I read this. So this is, like I said, I don't want you guys to see. How do I do this? I don't want you seeing the whole, there we go. There. All right, let me show you. There. So you guys can see that. That's what I just want you guys to see at the beginning. So that's that book I was telling you about, The Origins of World War I, that I just got at the thrift store this week. And it starts off this. And I was like, oh, brother. Here this person's really getting right into it. I'm like, but I remember Corvinus Wargaming always telling me, read the introduction, read the preface, find out where the author's coming from. It'll frame things, put things into context, and blah, blah, blah. The war solved no problems. Its effects, both immediate and indirect, were either negative or disastrous, morally subversive, economically destructive, socially degrading, confused in its causes, devious in its course, futile in its result. It is the outstanding example in European history of meaningless conflict. And I was like, oh my God, is this guy ever like holy moly? But then he did what I'm trying to do for you guys is it has nothing to do with the Great War. These eloquent words applied by the British scholar C.V. Wedgwood to the 30 Years' War could equally pertain to the First World War. I was just like, wow, that guy really got me good. Anyways, and that's why I was hopefully that got you guys as well. Let me see if I can get into here. So this is from the book. Where are you? This one. From this one. And it was so nice to read. Hold on, I'll just show it to you, and then we can go into the whatever. So it's this one here. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's got a whole little thing on Greece. And it was nice to read because he's very, I mean, you'll see in a little bit. Hold on, I'll get rid of me. That could be phoning me at this time. Oh, mind you, I did remove all my phone blocking, so we may get some interesting little whatevers. I don't know if I'm going to read the whole bloody thing here. But where was it? Sorry, guys. We're going to have to deal with some maybe phone person who's, yep, we're just going to have to deal with them. I hope maybe you guys won't be able to hear that. Oh, someone babbling away here. With natural word of the week convinced shells had to be fired on the royal palace. Oh, yeah, remember, this is about the Battle of Athens on the left-hand side there. You can see the dethronement of Constantine was postponed until the United States had declared war. This hesitation was out of regard for the supposed susceptibility of America for the rights of small states. Yet again, I'm wondering if that kind of, if you want to also connect some dots with why they were also supporting the Russian provisional government. Well, they're about to, as we just found out by Brian R. Smith, the Tsar just abdicated. So I'm jumping the gun a little bit. But anyways, I just thought, and it goes on a little bit more, talks about it. Venizelos returned triumphantly as premier and Greece joined the Allies. But it was here. It's obvious that the treatment of Greece was entirely, and remember, this is going more towards the way I would think towards that, but he tempers it nicely. It is obvious that the treatment of Greece was entirely incompatible with the ordinary rights of neutrals, nor in the writer's opinion can it be justified by the special international position of the protecting powers. And it had something to do with this treaty that they said that they were always going to make sure that Greece was part of some monarchical parliamentary thingamajig, and they're like, well, since Constantine did this, I mean, let's be honest, it was just an excuse. Anyways, I'll shush. I'm doing it again. If Constantine had been determined to uphold a real neutrality, there's no ground for imputing to the Entente a settled policy of coercing Greece into a declaration of war when their troops first landed. But the position was in fact an impossible one. If Constantine had been determined to uphold a real neutrality, he should have dismissed Venizelos before the latter had made any kind of pledge. But though autocratic and firmly convinced of his divine right, a trait which naturally increased his family's sympathy with the Kaiser, he was shifty and evasive. He had that kind of weak obstinacy which digs itself in only at the 11th hour, after a long show of apparent complacence. To dismiss Venizelos and promise in the same breath a most benevolent neutrality towards the Entente was totally inconsistent. The former action rendered him deeply suspect. Oh my God, we're 1143. The former action rendered him deeply suspect. The latter declaration led the Allies to think they had a right to ask for anything which they thought necessary. Any refusal was treated as showing a deliberate ill will, founded on understanding with the Central Powers, and compliance was extorted by force or its threat. It is probable that the majority of Greeks in 1916 were neither pro-Ally nor pro-German, but wanted to be left alone. Yet the course of the war proved that a small nation could only maintain neutrality or its own ideas of neutrality if such conduct was compatible with the vital interests of both the great alliances. If not, the maxim, he that is not for us is against us, was speedily applied. And I completely agree. You know what? And like I said, I'll show it again, just because, and then we're going straight to your ATA, William Arends. But we're going to see the stuff that I did want to talk about. Gertrude Bell, there's the bit of the Greece thing. The European Library, I'll put all these things in the sources and links. I haven't done it yet due to the fact that I didn't want to, because if I had done that, you would have seen the cotton stuff. Hans Vollmoeller and his brother Karl Vollmoeller. Hans Vollmoeller was in the headlines this week. A well-decorated German pilot. He died this week. That's probably why I was mentioned. Anyways, his brother was a playwright, lived to 75 or something like that. But anyways, he almost seems like more famous or whatever. This is a little side note, and like I said, I'll put it in the sources and links because we just don't have time. Montreal at War, I noticed this book, and I was like, hey, wait a minute, I want to mention it to Brian R. Smith. And it looks pretty darn good. If you go to Goodreads, which I'll put in the sources and links, and it wasn't very expensive, Brian R. Smith, to get a paperback through Amazon. It looks pretty darn good. And then I noticed someone had posted on BGG the Kaiserslautern 1918. There should be an and there. Spence and Gable Games for the 1979. Well, there was an advert for it. I thought, oh wow, this is so nice. And that's the person who popped it in. We're not going to see it, but I would like to. But I'm mentioning it to you guys. Is the Osprey Publishing, and I know it's American Civil War, but I was like, ooh, amphibious tactics. That would be interesting to find out about. But anyways, they have a book out this week, this month, American Civil War Amphibious Tactics. I wanted you guys to know about it. Review of the Habsburg Eclipse. Like I said, you can go and find the link on BGG or go to the ComSim War forum thing as well. Was a battalion of infantry still there? And we're not going to be able to take a look because now we're going off to the latest one that you just sent, William Arends, and the way we're going. And then we're going to, hey, at least I'm going in the right way. And I'm super glad also, William Arends, when I was starting to read this morning, that you sent this, because this is one thing that I've one thing that I've thought about often, which is that Great Britain should stir the pot in the Pacific and get the Japanese. Remember, the British right now are, they're in their boat, kind of, pardon the pun, and get them to cause some chaos with the Americans in any which way or form. Even if they're both your friends, both your allies, get them to bicker amongst themselves. Because the more you can do that, as far as I'm concerned, the less they keep their eye on your ball, and you can maybe have a longer global thing there. Ooh, Meandering Mike's got some good stuff here. The American Civil War Amphibious Tactics book doesn't release until. Oh, thanks, man. Okay, I'm jumping the gun on that as well. Darn it. Okay, well, it gives me time to save up money or whatever. So there, shush. Translator's note. I saw this article from the last day in February of 1917, written from the point of view that the United States of America and some European colonial powers were being threatened by the rise of Japan and its maritime ambitions. There's an underlying hope that Japan and those countries holding Asian Pacific colonies would go to war in that region, thereby taking some pressure off the Central Powers in Europe and the Near East. As much as this was a vain hope during World War I, since Japan saw an advantage in joining the Entente and taking the small German island possessions in the Pacific Ocean and the German territory of Tsingtao, which was returned to China after the war, but taken again by Japan in the 1930s. Did they mention Nippon yet? I didn't realize that was another word for Japan. What is the most interesting in this article is that it is almost a prophecy or a prediction of the next conflict in the Pacific and Asia rather than the one occurring from 1914 to 1918. And one can see the building tensions that would lead to that future war. This article also uses the designations of Holland and the Netherlands interchangeably, even though they are the same thing geographically, which is where we got the Hollanders again. Oh my gosh. Berlin's latest newspaper, a non-beautiful partisan newspaper, 28th February 1917, the evening edition, the thorn in the eye of America, the jealousy of California towards Japan. Oh, I just love stuff like that. The Overwatch of the Pacific and the Orient. That even sounds good too, doesn't it? There it is, Nippon. The United States ready to go arm in arm with Holland against Nippon, Japan, which is interesting, because they were another one that had, tried to stay neutral, and well, they did, but I mean, they had some interesting issues. The special correspondent. Oh, thank you. There we go. It is the Japanese name for Japan. Thank you. The special correspondent of the Rotterdam Courant in San Francisco writes that in no other state is the opposition to Japan so evident as it is in California, despite a close trading relationship that happens directly between here and Japan. That's neat too for me on a side. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not from there or any part, so I don't see how I mean, obviously they look out towards the Pacific, and I guess they do see, next stop is Japan or whatever. It's neat. Japanese ships transit almost every day from Japan to California and back, while only recently have certain ships transit flying the American flag partake in this commerce. At previous times, the American portion of this trade did not amount to much. It was conducted by only 4 ships, and one of these 4 was of Chinese origin named Chino, owned by a Chinese corporation. The other 3 were registered to the Pacific Mail, operating under the Netherlands Royal West Indian Mail. These ships had a limited tonnage and had to compete with the giant Japanese steamships. It is possible that the jealousy that Californians feel towards Japan was fueled by their opposition to the presence of the successful Japanese transport business. As the Norwegians have already done, the Hollanders are now beginning to react to the competition from Japan, but at this time, such adversarial activity is not anything that the Japanese would have to worry about. The Pacific Mail Line has determined to do business with only 3 steamers along with the 4 ships that are being built. This is, however, a song to be sung in the future, for at this moment, the Japanese are the lords and masters of the great ocean. They have realized that now is the time to press their advantage and to exploit this favorable opportunity. They have already had 2 years of successful steamer activity behind them. They have received millions in profits, more than in normal times, and these millions are then used to increase its economy in this way that also, after the war, should be stronger in comparison to their competitors, who will need to work hard to maintain their economic position. Japan has built ships with a feverish haste, but also with what to any observer of this Japanese shipbuilding must see as a shining example of quality in that construction. My God, on a side note, we got to look at, thanks a lot again, Millie Arends and everybody else bringing this stuff up, because I'm thinking about it now. I mean, let's be honest. Okay, so they defeated Russia just a little while ago, like 10 years ago, or a little over 10 years ago. Looking pretty darn good. And still, I'm just like, I'm just shocked. Like, how did they not become how did they not become just unbelievably dominant? Obviously, the United States must have put a stop to them in the interwar somehow. This is all stuff I don't know about yet. Thus, Japan makes use of the present circumstance in transportation to secure a favorable dominance in commerce on the Pacific Ocean. Japan's steamer lines have opened a close connection with almost all lands on the shores of the Great Ocean. They send their ships to ports in both Central and South America and will soon be setting up a new line between San Francisco and Australia. It is very understandable that the Americans look upon all this progress of the Japanese with envious eyes. Oh, cool. What a cool. I'm just thinking of War of the Worlds. What contributes in large part to this special situation is that certain citizens have received astonishingly favorable circumstances from the direction of Japanese politics. In this way, the government of Japan drives business of their shipping lines. These businesses advance in the set conditions that give preferences to goods shipped by Japanese carriers over the shipping lines of other nationalities. Japan now completely has in hand the rudder steering this craft of commerce. In contrast, the Americans see how this credible and powerful reality of the goods in the holds of the Japanese ships have allowed this Japanese transport to benefit the Empire of Japan. The Americans will have to challenge this Japanese hold on commerce if they want to control the movement of their own goods. Oh boy. The situation also contributes to their displeasure. This includes the concern about the American trade routes being used by an erected Holland-run Java Pacific line, and then the Japanese have also made a trade connection between America and the Philippines that they control. It is also possible that the Cunard line, and boy, we see that line a lot, don't we, will try on their own behalf to win more of the trade happening in the Pacific, for they have, at the very least in recent days, established an agency in San Francisco to produce contracts that will provide great future profits. Never been to San Francisco. I'd love to go to San Francisco. I know Hissy Cat's got relatives in San Francisco. Above all, the Americans mistrust the intentions of the Japanese, and because of this are carrying out the strengthening of their army and their naval because they envision a war with Japan. From this, we can infer that the continuing belief in the increasing supremacy of the Japanese on the Great Ocean must be felt as a thorn in the eye of America. As alarming reports over the intentions of Japan towards the colonies of the Netherlands were made known, the American press quickly disseminated and sent telegrams that were made available to the public in Holland. These reports made the desire of the Japanese to conquer or capture the Netherlands East Indies a topic of conversation there. Similar fears have been held for a long time already about the Philippines. Travelers that have returned from there carried with them an exceedingly dire view of the situation for those islands. They recount how the Japanese have purchased one plantation after another at a good, higher than market value price, and how with every new purchase, the American influence is decreased, while at the same time, the Japanese presence there increases. These alarming reports have been trumpeted out in every direction by the press in California. In the possessions, colonies of the Netherlands, the fear of Japan is felt both from the inside and the outside, and it is being candidly discussed about how that archipelago could fall under Japanese occupation, just as it happened in Formosa, Taiwan, and Korea. These considerations have been voiced by many people in the United States as well. So, whoa, Japan had Taiwan for a while, and Korea. Oh my gosh. An article, remember, I don't know any of this stuff. An article in a Japanese newspaper has openly stated that this is the time for the emergence of Japan, as would be exemplified by the takeover of the Netherlands East Indies colonies. These significant observations could lead some people to thoughtfully speculate as to whether American and Netherlands political policy advisors were recommending that those two countries only actively participate in actions against Japan. And didn't I know it was the Netherlands? Didn't they just sell off some island or something in the Caribbean, for crying out loud, just a couple of months ago, for goodness sakes? Remember, it was taking a long time, but they finally just went, okay, we're doing it. It is unfortunate that during an interview with the San Francisco Examiner, a Hearst publication, with the director of the West Shipping Line of Java, A. Bryan, did provoke a great sensation. Bryan said that Americans and Hollanders should stand up against the intentions of Japan in the Far East. I wonder if you'd get smacked upside the head if you called somebody a Hollander. Furthermore, Bryan brought to mind that the visit of the Governor General of the Philippines to Java in the Netherlands East Indies was perhaps about something more than a simple inspection of the schools on Java, which was the official reason given for his visit. Everything flowed like water over a dam and German water over a mill in the anti-Japanese press. Even so, could a private outing of a high official to the Netherlands East Indies government be interpreted as a sign of future cooperation between the military command staffs of Holland and America? All right. Thank you, William Arends. We've got 3 minutes left. We can knock off the week. I think we can say screw the narrative and everything else. Oh, no, we didn't even do the shit. Well, we're going to, because that's not fair. Hold on here. We're going straight to there, and I'm going to pop it in there. For goodness sakes, yes. Remember the tough, because that's the whole bloody thing. Like I was saying, I wanted to make sure we do, is you guys come first. The heroic rescue of the Ghost Army, 1917, the Western Front. Remember that? We're just going to read the tiny little first paragraph of Tolemykus' thing, and then we'll go down to the best course of action. Harro Bosma is there. Thanks. Boarding now. See you in 2 weeks. You darn right, Harro Bosma. And we're going to be there for the 3-year anniversary, so get your party hat on. Anyways, 1917, the Western Front of World War I was a stalemate with both the Allied and Central powers entrenched in the trenches. As the war dragged on, both sides began to experiment with unconventional tactics to break the deadlock. Whoa. One such tactic, dubbed the Ghost Army, was developed by the French Army. This army was an elite unit created to simulate a large force, drawing the enemy's attention and confusing their intelligence about troop movements. Remember, the Germans ended up, and they were like, oh shit, what do we do? Well, we're going to have to find out. If you were the leader of the Ghost Army rescue operation, what would be the best course of action to ensure the survival of the decoy unit, preserve the deception? Attack the German patrols directly, hoping to silence the German forces and buy enough time for the Ghost Army to escape. Send false orders of the Ghost Army, directed them to a new location far from the German forces while coordinating a decoy operation to confuse the Germans. C. Communicate, and remember, we're going to probably have another F, perhaps, with Meandering Mike. C, communicate with nearby French infantry units. Oh my God, yeah, he did the Ghost Toasties last week. French infantry units asking them to lay down a smoke screen and engage in a feint attack, drawing the Germans away from the area. So you'll have to come up with another F, Meandering Mike, for when we get down to the next one for the Serbia thing. So just get ready. I made only 2 errors in my ATO. Not bad. You're darn right, man. Darn right, William Arends. You're freaking amazing. Move the Ghost Army through underground tunnels, bypassing enemy patrols and taking them to a location far behind the lines to regroup. Or relay a false radio message to the Germans claiming that a new major Allied offensive is underway in a different sector, hoping to divert their attention away from the Ghost Army. That's the one I would use, number E. Now let's see what the heck we should have done. Best course of action is not me, what I would have done, and we'll find out why. The best answer is B. Send false orders to the Ghost Army, directing them to a new location far from the German forces while coordinating a decoy operation to confuse the Germans. The reason this is the best choice is that deception is key to the success of the Ghost Army. By sending false orders, the Ghost Army could be relocated without directly engaging the Germans or drawing attention to their position. At the same time, a coordinated decoy operation would continue the ruse, ensuring that the Germans believed they were dealing with a much larger Allied force. Direct confrontation, A, would risk exposing the unit and relying on smoke screens. C, or underground tunnels. D, might not provide enough cover to protect the Ghost Army's core mission. A false radio message, E, could also be useful. Well, at least I got partial answers, a half point. Could also be useful, but it would alone not provide the physical relocation necessary to ensure the safety of the decoys. Okay, I'll learn. Sending false orders and using coordination between units would best ensure the protection of the Ghost Army and preserve the integrity of the operation, which ultimately can get rid of you. Contributed to the success of the Allied war effort by keeping the Germans confused about the size and scope of the real troop movements. All right, and could I do this a little bit bigger? Yes, excellent. The rescue of the Serbian army, 1916, Greece. In 1915, as World War I raged across Europe, the Serbian army suffered a catastrophic defeat at the hands of the Central Powers, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Bulgaria, during the Central Powers Balkan offensive. After this devastating defeat, the remnants of the Serbian army, including thousands of civilians and wounded soldiers, fled towards Greece seeking refuge. The Serbian retreat was long and treacherous, with many soldiers succumbing to harsh conditions and constant enemy attacks. And you guys can, there's a movie out there, what's it called? King Peter or whatever, or it's the dubbed name is different than the original name. It's a freaking amazing movie. Awesome flipping movie. Really, really good movie. And it goes through this whole thing. I highly suggest looking for it. You can get it on YouTube. Anyways, by 1916, I can't remember the name of it, like the original name. By 1960, we've talked about the movie. By 1916, the Serbian army had gathered in northern Greece near Corinth, hoping to regroup and recover with the assistance of Allied powers, particularly the French and British. However, tensions were rising in Greece due to political instability as the country was divided between factions that supported the Allies and those that remained loyal to the Central Powers. Amidst this volatile situation, the Serbian army was being closely pursued by Bulgarian forces, who sought to finish off what was left of the Serbian military presence. A covert rescue operation was initiated by the Allied forces, mainly French and British, tasked with extracting the Serbian army from Greece and transporting them safely to Corfu, an island under Allied control. The operation was extremely time-sensitive as the Bulgarians were closing in on the position, and a secretive evacuation was required to avoid detection. However, the Greek political climate created a challenging situation. Reports were mixed, with some claiming that the Greek Royal Army was sympathetic to the Central Powers, and others suggesting that their loyalty was still uncertain. The operation had to be carried out with extreme discretion, and any misstep could lead to exposure and potentially destroy the Serbian army. Question: If you were leading the rescue operation, what would be the best course of action to safely evacuate the Serbian army while avoiding detection by both Bulgarian and Greek forces? A, use civilian boats to secretly evacuate the Serbian troops across the water to Corfu at night, hoping that the boats would avoid military patrols. B, create a diversion, such as staging a fake attack on a nearby Greek town, drawing the Bulgarian forces away from the Serbian position for a brief window of time. C, attempt to negotiate with the Greek government, convincing them to provide safe passage for the Serbian forces while keeping the operation clandestine. Just going to say this. If you pick C, you have not been listening to any of these shows. Oh my gosh. D, send in a small, don't pick C is what I'm trying to say. D, send in a small special forces team to infiltrate Bulgarian lines and destroy key supply routes, slowing the pursuit of the Serbian army to allow more time for the evacuation. E, mobilize a large allied force to conduct an overt military operation, leading a strong charge to push back the Bulgarian forces and secure an evacuation route for the Serbs. I'm going to go with A. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to go with A. Clues and false reports, and I should wait because Tolemykus always gives us this to help us out a little bit. I knew it. I've been waiting for F. And here we go. Hooray. F. Have the Serbians dress as gypsy dancers looking for a grand show on Corfu. Wicked. Oh my God. It could be the first techno show as well. There we go. Thank you, Meandering Mike. Great Greek loyalty was in question as reports varied on whether the Greek army would help or hinder the evacuation. Some said the Greek king supported the Central Powers, while others claimed the Greek prime minister was secretly pro-allied. Bulgarian reconnaissance was weak in the area, but increased as they gained intelligence on the Serbian army's retreat. They suspected that the Allied forces might be involved in a covert operation, but lacked solid confirmation. Local Greek villages had been caught in the middle of the war, with some residents sympathetic to the Serbs, while others feared reprisals from the Central Powers if they were found aiding the Allies. Reports from French intelligence indicated that the Serbian army was near collapse and that every day lost could lead to more desertions or death among the soldiers. However, they were also outnumbered and under-equipped for a fight. Conflicting intelligence suggested that the Bulgarian forces were unaware of the Serbian army's exact location, but other reports stated that the Bulgarians were already en route, making the timing of the evacuation critical. Discussion topics. How did political instability within Greece during World War I complicate Allied covert operations in the region? You got to admit, this is a pretty timely logic puzzle to have, as far as I'm concerned. 2, how did the Allied forces manage to coordinate their efforts to rescue the Serbian army amidst such dangerous and fluid conditions? 3, how did misinformation and conflicting intelligence affect the planning of covert rescue operations during World War I? 4, what role did local populations play in supporting or hindering military operations during World War I in occupied territories? 5, and I want to make goody. 5, how did interventionist tactics like creating diversions become a hallmark of military strategy during World War I, especially in unconventional warfare scenarios? Thank you again, Tolemykus. My gosh, it's awesome. Now let me get to the narrative, and then we'll do that. The week. We're doing the week, and I'll pop me in a little bit. Yeah, you guys can see that, and that'd be it. Just in case everybody wants to pick F, you can pick F. There you go. You never know. And here we go. And then we'll be going off to the after hours because we're 8 minutes past, but that's the way it goes. F, Tolemykus is going for F. And he's the author. So that's all we got to say. The week that was for March 9th to the 15th, 1917. March 9th, passage of it would be neat, Brian R. Smith, to see if they mention the Tsar there at the bottom there. The passage, because this isn't like the headlines, as we know. This is all like, it's collated and whatnot afterwards. Passage of Diyala is forced as the British advance on Baghdad. The Russians attack retreating Turkish forces near Sivas in Asia Minor. the Russian scouts advance southwest from Sakist and capture Sina in Persian Kurdistan. The general retreat of the Kurdish forces in Persia. Russian troops invite the Persian government to resume possession of towns occupied by the Russians. Well, they're going to be doing a hell of a lot more than that once you guys collapse. British loan of 40 million pounds to Romania. World shortage of wheat is foreshadowed in the French chamber. Lord Devonport sanctions maximum food prices. I think he's the food controller for Great Britain. Food problem at Petrograd becomes urgent. Dutch authorities are officially notified by Germany that safety is guaranteed for shipping along a strip of North Sea from Holland to Norway. French repulse attacks in Champagne and north of Bois de Caudière. March 10th, in the Ancre region, the British capture Ile, along with 292 prisoners. Romanians and Russians counterattack to regain Magarios Ridge, Moldavia, which had been previously lost on the 8th of March. Turkish forces are forced back to within 3 miles of Baghdad. March 11th, strikers' food demonstrations and rioting increase in Petrograd, with the government agreeing to hand over the food question to local bodies. And can somebody please tell me, Meandering Mike, you may know that as well, what exactly is the word Soviet? What does that actually mean? Because I keep seeing it. Does it mean committee or group or what? Thank you. I'd love to know. Chinese parliament votes for the breach with Germany. Sugar cards are introduced in Paris. British enter Baghdad after 3 days of fighting, and we sure as hell know that doesn't mean like a lick'em stick. That's for bloody sure. British cavalry occupy Kazmain, 4 miles north of Baghdad. Spring campaign in Macedonia begins with the Allies attacking north and northwest of Monastir. Russian gas attack east of Mitau. Continuous air fighting along the Western Front with the loss of 26 Allied and enemy machines reported. I think I'd mentioned that as well last week. I wanted to know if there, I have been noticing there is an uptick lately in gas attacks, and I'm not sure, is that just a coincidence? Like in the sense of technology of dispersal and the manufacture of gas is more efficient now? Or is it because it's cheaper to do gas bombs rather than the typical ways? Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you. Ruling or advisory council is one of the meanings of Soviet. Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to know. Thank you. Meandering Mike. March 12th, French gain ground in eastern Champagne region. British raid near Arras. Soissons is bombarded with incendiary shells. By whom, though? I don't know. So you'd have to, I guess, find out who has Soissons at that point. Successful German raids near Zlatow-Tarnopol Railway near Brzezny and along the Nerezhkovka River. British advance along the Doran front. Italians occupy Bukom's west of Tripoli. Which one? I'm assuming it must be the one near Palestine. The American steamer Algonquin is torpedoed without warning. The Tsar orders the suspension of the Duma and Council of the Empire. 3 Guard and several Russian line regiments join the parliamentary party. The Russian Revolution begins and a provisional government is formed. Canada's 3rd war loan is launched. The U.S. State Department rules that merchant vessels armed fore and aft may clear from American ports. Upon arriving in England, General Smuts makes a speech. Remember, Brian R. Smith tracked that down for us because I was like, where the hell is General Smuts? Why is he not part of the, like he was doing so well in German East Africa. Why did he leave? And they said he was, Brian R. Smith mentioned, he got a job up in England or whatever. They got him some political whatever. Statement that the Allies have mastery of the air in the British House of Commons. British government intends to stand by the new Indian cotton duties. There we go. The impending, I remember Lancashire cotton people were freaking out. The impending cabinet crisis in Austria. Revolutionary movement in Petrograd continues. China breaks off relations with Germany. The Norwegian relief ship Lars Forstens carrying grain is torpedoed outside the blockade zone. Russians take Kermanshah after 2 days of fighting. Another column approaches Bana, about 140 miles northwest of Kermanshah. British are now 30 miles north of Baghdad, so they're way past Baghdad now. Field hospitals at Verlikop, Serbia are bombed with 2 British nurses and many others killed. British line southwest of Doran advances 1,000 yards. Bulgarians bombard Galatz from the Danube. British occupy Lupar Wood and Greville, 1.5 miles from Bapaume. Germans abandon the ground east and northeast of Gomkol. Lively fighting northeast of Soissons. Germans fail to retake Hill 185. Fighting in the Saint-Mihiel region. March 14th, British advance west and southwest of Bapaume and south of Ashley-le-Petit. And hold on, I've got to pop in some more stuff here. 1916 World Series, 4-1, Boston Red Sox over Brooklyn Robins. Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned the Robins. I saw my very first Robin of the year, Hissy Cat, yesterday, and my mom told me, "Oh, first Robin of the year, you make a wish." So I kind of did in a way. But anyways, Brian Ross Smith is also on March 12th. Communist Party members Joseph Stalin, my God, Lev Kamenev and Matev Muranov arrive in Petrograd and seize control of the Pravda newspaper. Oh my God. And if they had mobile phones, they'd probably go and chat their friend Lenin. Lord have mercy. In the context of USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, Soviet means assembly. Thanks again, man. I just love getting all these things put together. British also make progress on the extreme left towards Les Essarts. The Monastir front is lively, with Austrians attacking west and the Italians east of the town. British are now 35 miles northeast of Baghdad as well. Fighting on the west bank of the Tigris, Turkish forces are hurrying north to a position at Mushaida, 20 miles north of Baghdad. Moscow, Kharkov, and Odessa all declare for the provisional government. And William Arends says, I sent you an email with pictures in reply to your video about making counters. Thank you, William Arends. Should I go now? I'll go take a look now. We'll see if I can pop them in now before we split. Might as well. People are still here, so why not? Grand Duke Cyril with his sailors placed themselves under Mr. Rodzianko's orders. Probably a good idea, otherwise you'd probably get killed. General Liotny, French Minister of War, resigns. Both houses accept India's war contribution of £100 million and authorize increase in cotton duties. I just put that down with a bunch of little dots because I don't know. That's something I've got to really think about that for a while. I don't know. This just seems like there's more to that than meets the eye as far as I'm concerned. Ba-boom! There you go, Brian R. Smith. March 15th, Tsar Nicholas abdicates and resigns the rights of his son. Preparations in Russia for the calling of a constituency assembly or a Soviet, according to Meandering Mike, based on universal suffrage. The 6th German war loan is floated. U.S. railwaymen threaten strike. Voice of credit in the British House of Commons. The French Chamber passes the summertime bill. Oh my gosh, what a way of putting it. British torpedo boat is mined in the English Channel. The Turkish concentration in Asia Minor contemplated. British take Mushaida. Along the Tigris, Turkish forces are in full flight towards Samara. British progress on a 2.5-mile front between Saint-Pierre-Vasse-Wood and Salisère. German attack east of Achia-le-Petit. French progress between the Havre and the Oise. And I think that's it. And we're going to go, hold on here. I'm going to stop the screen. Hold your horses here. William Arends, I'll go to take, oh my God, we didn't even take a look at the, well, this is the way it went. But we're going to go to after hours since I got other stuff to do. And I'm sure you guys do too. Oh my God, here we go. You're jumping the gun, Brian R. Smith. That's tomorrow. March 16th, Nicholas II nominates his brother, Grand Duke Michael, brother of Tsar Nicholas, on March 15th. But the next day he says, yeah, screw this. I ain't no dummy. Yeah, smart move, dude. Get the hell out of Russia. Anyways, hold on here. Oh yeah, you said you wanted me to go take a look at your stuff. Yeah, I didn't even get to look at the what. Oh, no, let me just do this while we're trying to get it ready. There we go. There's the Can Games registration is now open. One thing I did notice is that they must have a new artist. They're still using the dwarf, but that's a new artist. That's not the way the other guy used to do it. Hold on here. I'm gonna have to stop the screen because just in case I don't want people to see my other email stuff. It could be bad stuff. I don't know. Hold on here. You said you. Oh, there you are. My counter making tools. Hold on here. Hold on here. Oh, you know what I was looking at, Brian R. Smith? I'm not happy about the T-shirt. Oh, I know you were saying Zoe Dufour. I'm not a big fan either, and you can see it's a different artist for sure. Hold on, let me put this in the. Well, put it in a banner. Hold on, create a banner. Let's see. I can also do the I also. Okay, hold on here. It's just because we went over 200 words and it lost its marbles. So I'm going to add that banner and I'm going to show it. Here's a picture of my bypass trimmer and some grades of cardboard that it has cut through. Awesome. Because I was just talking about, or going to talk about, looking at different cutters. Because I don't know if you could notice on that video, you could see that there was a slight, and that's partially due to the fact that when I went to go cut, I'm not making, it's not completely secure. That's one of the main things for sure. One to cut is the thing that I need to cut has got to be as secure as humanly possible. But anyways, hold on here. I'm putting in your other stuff here. Your other banner, and then I can show that one. I also like to expand the postcard size games that I get from Against the Odds magazine, designed mostly by, I didn't see what the, designed by, oh, well, hold on. I'm going to make sure that we put the rest in. Oh my God, this has been a weird, pretty far, there you go, Paul Rohrbach and Ty Bamba. I attached those game board and counter enlargement to various thick cardboard as well. Excellent. Now let's go and take a look at your pictures. Just let me, I got to download them first, and then we'll just we'll look at them raw. Anyways, yeah, I want to get a really, really, really good cutter. I see what you're using. I can see it from here. I've got some pretty good rotary cutters downstairs, but I don't want to use them for that type of thickness. So I'll take a look at what you got. The one I was looking at's not cheap. Okay, so hold on here. I want to get it kind of primed for the playlist for the after hours. Hold on here. Yeah, well, hopefully we'll take a look at it next week or whatever. Or like I said, I don't know if I'm doing a live stream next week because I really, really, really want to make sure that we 2-hour live stream. I know, William. I know. I don't know. Oh, it's going to be more than 2 hours, Zoe Dufour, just due to the fact I've still got to crank out the bloody. Mind you, there's 2 less pages this week for the war summary. It was like I said, a really weird one this week. Very strange. How wide is your? Oh, here we go. We're going to go and look at his pictures. Present. Oops, I got to get him first. Hold on. I think that's what you're going to see, or maybe not. I see Zoe Dufour likes the guillotine trimmers. Yeah, I was looking at one that's it's not cheap. Okay, hold on here. I want to make sure that I'm getting to the right ones here. All right. Aha! There we are. Oh yeah, you've got the double arm. You got the double arm with your whatever. Okay, let's go. I'm gonna get rid of Zoe Dufour's thingamajig. There, I'm gonna get rid of me so that way we can. Well, let's see here if I can just do it. That's not bad, and then we'll just go down. Yeah, see when I see the double arm there, I'm like, oh, that's a good sign. That's a Fiskars, is it? It looks like a Fiskars, the color, the orange. see what else you got. Oh, that is super popular in the scrapbooking community, Zoe Dufour says. There you are. Nice sharp cut. Oh, nice. I don't know about you, but I absolutely love. I hope you're talking about the cutter, William Arends, and not something else. Uh, I just love. It's just so much fun to make my own stuff. I just love it. I mean, you get to do your own. You get to do your own size, the whole 9 yards. And what game is this, Meandering Mike? What game is this? Oh, there's the Fiskars thing. What game is this, William Arends? Oh, that's the critical thing that I kept saying that we never got to see. I didn't. Zoe Dufour, you get your mind out of the gutter. I didn't say anything. You're the one who's connecting the dots. So they should be. I'm going to have to report you. That's the way it's going to have to be. Anyway, so that's it. I want to, well, no, like I said, I did put them in the sources and links, everybody, or I'm going to put them in the sources and links after this thing. But I did want to show, like I said, very quickly. Let's just do it super quick. And I promise we will go, and then that's it. I'll shut up, and then we'll go to the playlist. But I did want to show this to, oh, darn it. I did the wrong one. Hold on here. I grabbed the wrong link. It's that book I was mentioning to that I saw, and I was like, oh boy, I wonder if Brian R. Smith would be interested in this book. Let me put it in here. There we go. So that's it. Montreal at War. Drawing from newspapers, journals, government reports, and archival reports. Terry Kopp, one of Canada's leading military historians, tells the story of how citizens in Canada's largest city responded to the challenges of the First World War. Anyway, so there you go. And like I said, I'm going to make sure that we go into my thing and, oh, hold on here. Sorry, guys. I want to make sure that I save this to watch later. I really like her. I didn't know she had another thingamajig. So I'm like, Oh, cool. Thank you. Operation Cerberus, naval and air battles over the English Channel. Awesome. Thank you, William Arends. Let's go to 111. It better darn well be in there. I'm going to cry a river. Yes, it is. All right, guys. Hold on here. I'm going to make sure that I go to here so that way I can say goodbye to you guys properly, because as you know, I'm about to hit the mute button on my microphone, and I'll just turn into a texter. So, like I said, I'm not 100% positive what we're going to do for next week, but 2 weeks from now, for flippin' sure, it's the 3-year anniversary community give back thingamajig. So if there's anything that you want to see, whatever, please let me know. But I'm trying as much as possible to bring in some material, all kinds of material that has either been given to me to re-gift back to you guys. That way, and so on and so forth. I just want it that way. I just wanted to have a monster freaking loving with you guys. That's as far as I'm concerned, with my fellow mud gluttons. That's the way I'm looking at it. So I hope you guys have a great remainder of your weekend, a great week. That's about it. Like I said, I'm about to hit the after hours thingamajig, and that's it. Thank you again. Hold on here. Max, it's almost 9:30 Pacific time. I'm going to need to skip out of the after-hour show. Take care of yourself. I'll talk to you later. And that Fisker trimmer is a rotary cutter that can cut through heavy cardboard. Nice. I'm going to have to go take a look at that later. Well, like I said, I'm going off to the stationery store later. So there we go. I know this was crazy. An hour and a half. My gosh. All right. So like I said, I'm going to turn off here. I'm going to go to there. And we're going to go to... All right, here we go for Live stream 111, the war summary for March 9th to the 15th, 1917. Kind of neat for me anyways. I'm recording this several days in advance. I'm trying to get rid of some of the hard stuff first rather than have a mad panic later on, and we'll see how this works. It's also a bit of a shorter version. For some reason, there's no March 13th. I looked twice. I did 2 different searches for it, but there's no date for that, which is odd. I can see why there's no March 12th normally, because there's no they don't post on a Sunday. So this is actually going to be a shorter one. There's only going to be 10 pages, not 12. Anyways, here we go. March 9th. A slight advantage by the British on both sides of the Ancre Valley is officially reported from the Western Front. Otherwise, the situation is unchanged. Snow and mud are hampering operations. Enemy trenches were entered at Biache. Southeast of Chaulnes and south of Arras, the Germans raided the British front line. In each case, artillery preparation preceded the raid. At various points along the British front, the guns on both sides were actively engaged. In the Ganvichy sector, the enemy trenches were bombarded. 8 miles from Baghdad on Tuesday night, news should soon be received of the fall of the Turkish stronghold. The retreat of the Turks from Kut el Amara must have degenerated into a panic as the disorganized mob swept through the Turkish lines of defense on the outskirts of Baghdad. General Maud reports that little opposition had been encountered by his troops as they pursued the flying foe in the face of a sandstorm that made marching trying for many men and horses. The enemy rearguard that was left behind at Lage to delay the British advance was evacuated its positions on Tuesday morning. As the British cavalry swept on it, found Ctesiphon, the scene of the Turkish defense during General Townshend's unsuccessful march on Baghdad, absolutely unoccupied, and halted for the night 8 miles from the southern outskirts of Baghdad at the point where the Diyala and the Tigris meet. The operation so far had been brilliantly carried out by General Maud. Heavy fighting must now be in progress unless the Turks have become so demoralized by the tightening of the net around them as to lead them to abandon the defense of the city. The evacuation of Ctesiphon is a symptom of the declining strength of the Turkish opposition in Asia Minor, depending to a large extent on the support of the nomadic Arabs. The British advance may have shattered Turkish, hold on, I'm going to hit pause too, influence in this region and led to considerable defections among the Arab auxiliaries. Yeah, I've just been snoozing my brains out. I don't know what's going on here. The French recaptured positions in the Champagne region, which the enemy took 3 weeks ago. After a vigorous bombardment, the French advanced to the attack between Butte de Mesnil and Maison de Champagne, storming and capturing their lost trenches and taking 100 prisoners. The captured salient lies to the west of Maison de Champagne. A singular feature of the 1917 campaign so far is the failure of the Germans everywhere to make good their local successes. In this sector, the French were surprised 3 weeks ago, but the enemy has failed to hold his gains. In the Verdun area, the French destroyed German organizations between Hill 304 and Avocourt Wood. In the Alsace, the French guns dispersed enemy detachments on the move. The mobilization of France is characteristic of the undying spirit of the Republic. To the number of many millions, the civilian population of the country, including women, old men, and boys, has been voluntarily mobilized to win the war. In order to secure the maximum of efficiency and the minimum of wasted energy, it is now proposed to exercise closer supervision as to the allocation of work. The unit of organization is the department. The amended legislation mobilizes all able-bodied males not serving in the army between 16 years and 60, which means I'd have to do something, darn it. The Dardanelles, well, maybe I'd want to do it though. The Dardanelles campaign has been the subject of investigation by a commission, a majority of which has reported that to the laxity of the War Council was due in part the failure. Oh, this is awesome, actually. And it's on a side note, I hope I have the article on later on. I haven't read it yet, but I saw the headline for it. It's basically trashing Kitchener. I'm like, yeah, that's great. You're trashing a dead guy, for God's sakes. You can't, I was just like, well, anyways, I haven't read the article yet, so I gotta stop. Anyways, the initiation of the project was due to Mr. Winston Churchill, then First Lord of the Admiralty, and it is interesting to learn that it was proposed as the ideal method of defending Egypt and the Suez Canal. The delay of 3 weeks in the dispatch of troops to the east, a fact not communicated to the Admiralty by the War Office, was one of the fatal flaws in the planning of the expedition. I thought that was also interesting. I don't know about you guys. The writer did about, that was the ideal method of defending Egypt and the Suez Canal. It certainly doesn't, from what I've been reading in the history books, it had nothing to do with that. It was all to do with trying to, obviously get the Ottomans out of there and be able to open up the Dardanelles, for Christ's sakes, for the Russians and so on and so forth. Give me a break. Anyways, the delay of 3 weeks in the dispatch of troops to the east, a fact not communicated to the Admiralty by the War Office, was one of the fatal flaws in the planning of the expedition. You got to admit, though, this is a juicy paragraph. Of more importance is the conclusion that although the main object of the expedition was not attained, important political advantages were secured by the expedition. Oh, brother. Well, maybe they were, but I'm just like, gosh, come on. The report adds whether those were worth the loss and exactly was involved must remain a matter of opinion. As events proved, as events proved, the Turks were given time to fortify the peninsula, which they made practically impregnable. During the landing at Suvla Bay, despite the gallantry of the British forces, the attack failed to develop quickly enough, owing to the failure of a British general, subsequently retired. They're not bringing his name up. What was his name? Oh, darn it. General, oh, come on. Starts, I think, also with an M. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, shoot. Well, yeah, I could see his freaking face and he's grinning too. And it's like, oh my God. Anyways, the attack failed to develop quickly enough owing to the failure of a British general, subsequently retired and bringing up supports. The landing took place on August 6, 1915, and the British advance was brought to a standstill a fortnight later. The British losses, chiefly Anzacs, totaled over 100,000 men, including 25,000 killed. It was a glorious chapter in the records of British bravery and endurance, but it was not war. Wow. Germany's uncivilized methods of warfare. Oh my God, here I go with my bias again, because at the end of this paragraph, I was like, oh yeah, or like a naval blockade where you're starving freaking people. Anyway, shush. Germany's uncivilized methods of warfare have been tabulated by the Russian government in a formal protest to the enemy governments against violations of the usages of war. Russia enumerates the crimes of the Central Powers, which have resorted to the use of explosive bullets, gas, burning liquid, poison missiles, the poisoning of wells, misuse of flags of truce and Red Cross flags, killing of the wounded, the bombing of hospital trains, and the sinking of hospital ships. Could savagery go farther? Oh, for sure it can. Count Zeppelin's death, reported by Reuters correspondent at Amsterdam, removes a prominent warlord. His wild dreams of the conquest of Britain from the air buoyed up Germany with false hopes that have proved sadly disappointing. One Berlin newspaper published a cartoon early in the war showing a roof of Zeppelins over England. Underneath was the vain boast, "We shall soon Zeppelin your skies for you." It's such a cool freaking, oh, I love that. The complete failure of the Zeppelins has been one of the fiascos of German war preparedness. I'd love to get that in German as well. "We shall soon Zeppelin your skies for you." That just sounds so cool. I'm going to have to write that down. Canadian raids are frequent, according to a dispatch from Stuart Lyon. Oh, yeah, that guy. Well, I already wrote him down. I'm going to go and look him up. Canadian press correspondent. These excursions across no man's land, he states, are keeping the Canadian lads keyed up for the big adventure, which only waits the drying of the roads. France, as seen by Mr. Lyon on his way up to the Canadian front, shows a remarkable proportion of tilled soil. Oh, yeah, for sure, man. France didn't suffer nearly as badly as Great Britain with the food. We're gonna find, oh my God, here's the next paragraph. There we go. The British food situation is really serious, according to Sir Edward Carson, who forecasted still more drastic restrictions on imports. "Stick it out" is the motto set before the country by the First Lord of the Admiralty. I'd like, come on, that's just great. Keep calm and stick it out. The people's food is really threatened, was the opening note of his speech at the Aldwych Club, London. God damn, I love this life right now. Anyways, from Canadian headquarters, the Canadian press representative, Stuart Lyon, cables that raids by Canadians have slackened off during the past few days. Favorable weather is set in on the Canadian front, and the roads are getting in the condition for the heavy campaign immediately ahead. Now that Mr. Lyon has reached the Canadian lines, more frequent news of the happenings in this quarter may be expected. Excellent. In the Champagne region, in the Maison de, is it still doing it? Yes, as far as I know, it's still recording. I'm just checking. Yep. Okay. In the Champagne region, in the Maison de Champagne sector, the Germans made desperate efforts to recover positions taken by the French on Thursday. 3 fierce attacks were broken up by artillery barrage and machine gun fire. The enemy left a number of dead on the field. To the north of Tahur-Cernay Road in the But-de-Tahir sector, the French captured additional trenches and prisoners totaling 170, including 4 officers. In the Peron, oh my gosh, wait until you see a number coming up. I'm going to have to go and look it up because I was like, machine gun per whatever. It's pretty monstrous. Anyways, and prisoners totaling 170, including 4 officers. In the Peron region, south of Roy, French raiding parties penetrated the enemy lines at several points, doing considerable damage to the German organizations. In the Verdun area, there were lively artillery engagements at several points. Russians are closing in on the Ottoman forces in Asiatic Turkey. The Russian force is now moving westward on Baghdad from Saqqez, which is within 25 miles of the Mesopotamia border. Advancing southward from Turkish Armenia, another Russian force attacked the Turks 26 miles northwest of Erzingen and captured the enemy's fortified positions. Blowing these up, together with Turkish ammunition supplies, the Russian raiding party returned in safety with some prisoners. Erzingen was captured by the Russians in July last. Hold on, I'm going to hit pause because I'm about to sneeze. Oh. It was a place of some military importance to the Turks, with large barracks and army stores. It is connected by road with Trebizond and the Russian base on the Black Sea, which is interesting. Remember, I mean, well, it used to be Ottoman, for crying out loud. The Mesopotamia advance has been, I mean, it's just obviously been in Russian hands now for so long that they're now just calling it the Russian base. The Mesopotamia advance has been assisted materially by the breach between the native Arab tribes and the Turks. The quick advance on Baghdad by General Mahmud's forces and the demoralized retreat of the defenders of Kut el Amara are attributed in private advices to New York to the wholesale desertions of the Arab auxiliaries. The Turks are now menaced not only by the British and Russian advances, but also by strong forces of Arab cavalry. And from what I know, that cavalry actually was Ottoman. Well, I mean, obviously Arab cavalry, but under Ottoman rule to protect the cavalry forces or whatever, who are harassing the flanks of the retiring Turks. These Arab forces, another fact checker, obviously, these Arab forces have been organized by the British as their allies, a fact of tremendous significance in the bearing on the future of Asiatic Turkey. Various tribes under the leadership of the Grand Sharif of Mecca have united their forces against Ottoman rule. Mecca is now in their possession. Peace has been proclaimed between 2 powerful Arab chiefs, the emir of the Shamir tribe, who rules in the Damascus region, and the emir of the Anza tribe near Aleppo. The junction of these powerful forces proclaims the doom of Ottoman rule in Asiatic Turkey. Possessed of weapons and equipment of the most modern type, the Arab tribes from the Syrian-Egyptian border to the frontier of Persia are in arms against their old masters. Under these changed conditions, the Turkish garrisons at Baghdad, Mosul, and other centers must be in desperate straits. The British transport Mendi, carrying South African native laborers, was sunk off the Isle of Wight in a collision on February 21st. Over 600 perished, including 10 Europeans, when the boat went down. As far as I know, remember that was the one where it hit a boat, another ship that was way They're bigger than it, as far as I know, like a big, huge passenger vessel. We'll have to go look that up. But it just took a little dent practically. Anyways, shush. The employment of colonial colored labor behind the British and French lines is releasing a considerable number of soldiers for active service. In the struggle for the final supremacy in manpower, the Allies have resources at their disposal, which will enable them in the last resort to put every available effective fighting man in the field against the enemy. Thank goodness for those colonies. General Botha, in announcing the news in South African House, stated that this was the last batch of native laborers shipped to Europe. All the others had landed safely in France. Don't worry, you're going to have a bunch of more Chinese showing up. They just joined forces with you. Maximum food prices in the British Isles have been fixed by Lord Devonport, the food controller. The prices will be subject to a fortnightly revision. The list includes bacon, butter, cheese, and lard. The thoroughness with which the British authorities are tackling the food problem, combined with the successful tactics adopted against the submarine and mine blockade, inspires confidence in the ability of Britain to overcome the submarine peril. Well, do you remember the previous page or two where the guy was losing his freaking marbles, Mr. Carson or whatever his name is? Holy moly, man. I do have short-term memory retention. President Wilson has discovered that he has the power to order the arming of merchant vessels flying the United States flag. Perfect timing, man. You guys are going to clue in that the United States are going to help you out with the convoy system, man. They're going to convince you. It is believed that because you guys are running out of food and ships, it is believed that action in this direction will follow immediately with all the precautions as to secrecy necessary under war conditions. The closure rules passed give the president power to defeat the tactics and filibusters when next the government seeks for legislative powers in the perfecting of war preparations. Meantime, an extra session of Congress has been called for April 16th. The arming of merchant vessels is an assertion of the rights of American citizens on the high seas, which in face of Germany's obdurate stand is tantamount to war. Zimmerman, the German foreign secretary, states in an interview that war depends upon President Wilson. You're darn right it does. But as Germany, according to the Chancellor, has decided to conduct the submarine warfare to the utmost degree, it is obvious that the United States cannot retain her self-respect save by accepting the German challenge. Another symptom of the warlike attitude of the United States is the determination of the government, in concert with the Latin American republics, to stamp out the German spy system. Man, I would love to find out more about that. That is for flipping sure. It just seems to always go under the radar, pardon the pun, you know what I mean? Because it's obviously like a bit of a metaphor for the German spy system or whatever. But there's, oh gosh, man, I got to find out if there's more literature about all that type of intrigue. The food crisis in Germany is more serious than Berlin is willing to admit. Yeah, kind of like the same way that Great Britain is, so shush. In the Prussian Diet, which I found ironic, just a weird word to use, a socialist member, Herr Hofer, stated that the mortality among elderly people is increasing at a terrible rate. He also declared that epidemics are spreading. Remember, we got the Spanish flu. Well, it's cooking up somewhere in America. Oh my God, they're just about to show up. People is increasing at a terrible rate. He also declared that epidemics are spreading owing to the lowered vitality of the underfed people, that suicides are increasing, and that parents are killing their children rather than see them suffer the pangs of unsatisfied hunger. These conditions are due largely to the unfair distribution of food, 100%, and to a great extent must be attributed also to the necessity imposed upon the military rulers which will avoid famine conditions in the trenches. Few soldiers will fight on empty stomachs. Oh, for sure. This is a monster black market. I mean, come on. Between Ypres and Armentières, north of Wolverhampton, the Germans made 9 attempts to penetrate the British lines. 5 assaults were made on Thursday evening and 4 early yesterday morning. One of the raiding parties succeeded in entering the British trenches on each occasion. Over a score of British defenders are missing. A number of prisoners were taken by the British. Southwest of Peronne, at a point south of Biache, the British again entered the German front line, wrecking dugouts and inflicting heavy losses on the occupants. 2 machine guns and some prisoners were brought back. At La Bassée, the British shelled the enemy's positions. Oh yeah, I mean that same thing was happening in Russia. My God, you find out about like that the long time, how long some people were waiting, in line, like overnight, and it was like, sorry, you're still not getting any food. Oh well, we got the revolution going on right now, as they know. On the Western Front, we don't know it yet though. On the Western Front, they're keeping this hush hush. On the Western Front, blizzard conditions have hampered military operations for some days past. The cold is intense again after a 10 days thaw. Though through it all, the British guns keep pounding at the enemy's positions, giving the Germans no respite. In their retirement, the enemy sacrificed many of their best troops in the rearguard fighting. I like this one. This is really neat to hear. Gas shells, gas bombs, and gas jars, what the hell, are now hurled at the British lines, one section of the line having been sprayed with these gas missiles for the past 10 days. I don't know. I just kept getting these visions of like an empty jam jar. Yeah, it's just weird. The capture of Baghdad yesterday morning is officially announced by General Maud. The entry of the British troops into the city of the Caliphs early on Sunday was a dramatic finish to the first stage of the campaign against Ottoman rule in Asiatic Turkey. In northwestern Persia and in the Caucasus, the Russians also are making considerable headway against the Turkish forces operating in these regions. The Turks are in full retreat on the Persian frontier, with the Russian cavalry in hot pursuit. The Russian advance through Mesopotamia from the Persian frontier is along the caravan route. Some of the mountain passes are still deep in snow. Sangar, which has been occupied by the Russians, is on this route. The fleeing Turks have been chased in the direction of Beshtun, which is about 30 miles from Kermanshah. Hold on here. I'm going to hit pause so I can blow my nose again. And we're back. Oh my gosh. Like I said, we're getting pretty darn close. This is the paragraph. The British advanced on Saturday in the Ankara region on a front of more than 3 miles. So that's a 3-mile front. I know it's not going to be every single machine gun, but I still would like to see what kind of density this is. Because when I saw the number of machine guns, I said, what? That's monstrous compared to what we've seen normally. The Ankara region on a front of more than 3 miles. Something weird must have happened here, man. Or they've got a lot of machine guns, and occupied the village of Ir, northeast of Grandcourt and the adjacent defenses. Now, look at this. 3 German officers and 289 men, 15 machine guns, and 4 trench mortars were among the spoils taken. I've never seen that number of machine guns taken. No way, man. British casualties were slight. On Friday last, there was a brisk aerial engagement. Did I write this down? I'm going to hit pause to make sure I do it. All right, I did it. British casualties were slight. On Friday last, there was a brisk aerial engagement. 4 of the machines are missing. The British occupation of Il in the Ankara region is conceded in a Berlin report. According to the German account, Il was, I wonder if it's Earless, well, it's too late now, was held by the rearguard detachments who withdrew by order of their commanders. Tolemykus was saying, I can't remember the person's name, some author saying that basically you should try to pronounce, if I don't know that language, pronounce it in the way I would say it as an English person kind of thing. So anyways, according to military experts, sorry, I'm always going to say Shemish the way I like. That's just the perfect, it's just something for me. According to military experts, it makes me feel good. In England, the choice that now lies before Germany is the strategy of delay or the strategy of desperation. How about delayed desperation? At present, on land at least, the warlords are favoring a cautious strategy of delay. Lively artillery actions in Champagne took place in the Saint-Hilaire-le-Grand and Maison de Champagne sectors. The infantry were not engaged. In the Saint-Mihiel region, the French brought down an enemy aeroplane with an anti-aircraft gun. Yeah, I want to look these up. The special gun, well, I wrote it down earlier. The special gun for this purpose in use by the French is reported to be very effective. In the Verdun area, in the Wouvre sector, French raiding parties surprised the enemy at various points. In the Forges sector, a German munitions depot exploded. Along the extreme left on the Belgian front, there was brisk artillery fighting. I don't know. When I saw that, I don't know about you, but it was like I could see a map right off the bat. That very last hex somewhere. It's like you don't even have a complete full hex, you know. Anyway, shush. The fighting around Hill 185 in the Champagne region has been intermittent since the big German offensive of February 17th last, and we know what that was, when the enemy surprised the French and captured 800 prisoners. Since then, the French have succeeded in retaking most of their old positions. The news from Baghdad is of the briefest description. On Sunday morning, the Turks had been driven back to within 3 miles of the city, fighting all the way back from the junction of the rivers of Diyala, where the British came into contact with the enemy on Thursday night. A surprise crossing of the Diyala was effected despite the moonlight, and the British gained a strong footing on the right bank. Now, remember that in 1917, so they're 2 days behind us. So when they say, you know, like a Thursday, that would be a Saturday for us. So like when we do our live streams, like right now, it's a Thursday for them. On Thursday morning, crossing the Turks at some distance downstream, a British force pushed its way up the right bank and encountered the enemy in strength about 6 miles southwest of Baghdad. That's why I don't have headlines for Tuesdays, just due to the fact that it's Sunday in 1917. The Turks were compelled to retire 2 miles. During Friday night, a crossing of the Diyala was carried through, and General Ahmad's force advanced 4 miles towards the city. On the same day, the troops operating on the right bank of the Tigris drove the Turks from their second position, resting for the night on the captured ground. On Saturday morning, the British had forced their way to within 3 miles of the city, entering it shortly after. The end of the Turkish sway in this region is fast approaching. Oh, I know. Trust me, in our world or in our time, Monday evenings is like, oh yeah, I get a bit of time off or whatever because I don't have to do headlines for the next day. Oh, brother. Anyways, the Grand Sharif of Mecca, who has proved such a powerful ally of the British in their campaign against the Turks, is the most powerful chief of Western and Central Arabia. In June last, supported by Arab tribes of the neighborhood, he proclaimed Arab independence of the Turks. He occupied Mecca and the port of Jedfa or something, and the town of Taif. In these initial exploits, he captured 1,400 Turks and 6 guns and besieged Medina. The revolt soon spread through all the Arab tribes as far north as Damascus. The Turkish troops committed the unpardonable crime of shelling the holy places sacred to the Muslims, one shell setting the holy carpet on fire. German intrigue in the Muslim world failed, as all German intrigues in this war seem to have failed. The Young Turks, led by Enver Pasha, have been denounced by the Grand Sharif as men who have neglected the precepts of the Quran, insulted the caliphate, and despised the faith. Neat. The defense of Bapaume has reached a critical stage for the enemy. Military experts believe that Germany is holding on in desperation, delaying the evacuation of the town until they have completed their plans for a withdrawal. The British guns now dominate the town from the ridge of heights less than a mile away and command the German lines of retreat. Wait a minute. Military experts believe that Germany is holding on in desperation, delaying. So that kind of sounds like my delayed desperation. So shush. I like it then. Anyways, I was just being, oh my God, yes, here we go with the oil tanker. The British oil tank steamer Pina of 6, it's the first time I've ever heard of an oil spill, of 6,000 tons has been sunk by a German submarine off the Irish coast. Some of the crew had to fight their way to the boats through a flood of oil. All hands were saved by taking it to the boats. They were picked up 200 miles from land by the Adriatic. The liner was on her way to New York and carried a 6-inch gun astern. The vessel also was fitted with smoke devices to help hide the ship from an attacking submarine. A Danish steamer has been sunk by a German submarine and 6 lives lost. The sinking of the Storstad, with the loss of at least 30 men, adds to the cup of German iniquity on the high seas. Not satisfied with torpedoing the Belgian relief ship, the submarine shelled the crew as they pulled off in a heavy sea. John Roy Christian, an American sailor aboard, states that the enemy appeared to be firing for fun. The submarine commander refused to take the boats in tow and left the crew to their fate. Buffeted by high seas, only 13 of the crew reached land safely. The Storstad was the vessel that rammed the Empress of Ireland over 2 years ago as she lay at anchor in the St. Lawrence. So number 13's lucky for those guys. Anyways, Americans who left Germany in company with the United States. I want to look this up as well. Like, what the hell happened here? So I know they went from Spain. So did they go like straight from Spain to Cuba? Which is interesting because we know there's a bit of civil strife going on right there. But like, when did that those arrests happen? Well, it'd be interesting to find out. Anyway, shush. Americans who left Germany in company with the United States Ambassador Honorable James W. Gerard arrived yesterday at Havana after an uneventful trip from Spain. Some of the passengers stated that food conditions are serious in the large German cities, but in the smaller towns, the scarcity is not so apparent. And well, yeah, it makes sense. You're closer to the farms and stuff, I would assume. The British advanced a mile yesterday along a front of 3.5 miles west of Bapaume. Driving in the German rear guards, General Haig's troops followed up the retiring foe, taking Lupel Wood and pushing on to the village of Grevillers, which lies at the front of the hill to the west of Bapaume. The British advance was preceded by intense artillery fire, the Germans falling back under pressure during hazy weather that obscured their movements. With this retirement, the Germans surrendered their strong defensive system west of Bapaume. The Berlin Dispatch briefly states that the fighting in this region was lively. Northeast of Gommecourt, the British advanced east and northeast on a front of about a mile. At Neuville-Saint-Vaast, Souchez, and Armentières, raids by the enemy were repulsed. In none of these sectors did the enemy succeed in reaching the British trenches. A German force entered the British trenches southwest of Neuf-Chapelle and took some prisoners. The enemy lines were effectively shelled in the Somme and east of Neuf-Saint-Vaast. Fighting in Champagne was resumed yesterday when the enemy, following the serious reverse reported yesterday, opened a terrific bombardment on the French lines at Maison de Champagne and Massage during the day, or Massage. We'll look that up as well, which I probably won't. During the day, but I keep saying I do. During the day, the enemy made unsuccessful counterattacks against Hill 185, which the French still hold. In the Verdun area, the French guns proved effective in creating serious fires in the enemy organizations in the vicinity of Avancourt, Hill 304, and on the right of the Meuse, north of Besançon. 10 miles northwest of Baghdad, on the right bank of the Tigris, the British troops have occupied the town of Kadimian and taken 100 prisoners. Corvinus Wargaming, you would know what to do with that word. I don't. Russians captured 15,000 men, an entire Turkish army in Western Persia, according to official reports received at Washington. Whoa, 15,000. Don't call that an entire army. Goodness gracious. On the Persian frontier, the Russian victory seems to have been complete and overwhelming. On Sunday last, following the fall of Baghdad, the Turks operating in Western Persia were caught in a trap in the mountain passes through which the Russians were advancing to effect the junction with the British on the Tigris. Cut off from their supplies by the capture of Baghdad, the Turkish force was compelled to surrender. The series of reverses to Turkish armies in the 2 years of the fighting in the Middle East has seriously reduced the available strength of the Ottoman defensive. The junction of the British and Russian forces will be the beginning of the end of Turkish resistance. There is serious apprehension regarding the fate of some 1,000 Americans in the neighborhood of Beirut in Syria. Oh, that'd be interesting to find out what they're doing there. Strong hopes are entertained at Washington that the British army operating in this region may reach Beirut before the Turks, in desperation, wreak their habit of vengeance on all foreigners. There are many American and European institutions in the city, including a Presbyterian mission. Oh, thanks for letting me know why they're most likely there. The Turks sacked Baghdad before evacuating. Well, wouldn't you? Since February 23rd, they have been busy removing and destroying everything of value. But despite their activity in this direction, the rapidity of General Maud's advance forced the enemy to retire before the task of demolition had been completed. Oh yeah, boy, oh boy. I don't know if it's here, but later on we're going to find out they get a ton of stuff, man. Valuable stores of ammunition and equipment fell into the hands of the British, who received a friendly welcome from the local inhabitants. In the city were found 500 Turkish wounded who were left behind when the garrison fled. Over 200 Turkish dead were counted on the left bank of the Tigris, and 300 prisoners were taken. Complete order has been restored in Baghdad. Lively fighting in Galicia is reported for German headquarters. The Berlin accounts says the Germans advanced against the Russian positions on the Narayuvka River and took over 250 prisoners. Oh yes, this cotton crisis is pretty cool. I think it's got a lot to do with the prices and whatnot, and we'll find out more about it here. The cotton crisis in Lancashire was the subject of a deputation that waited on Premier Lloyd George yesterday. Their interview was private, but it leaked out that the Premier held out no hope of concession to the demands of the Lancashire cotton manufacturers. Yeah, because of the thing in India. It is understood that the increased protective tariff on cotton goods into India will go into force immediately. The presence of the Kaiser and General Falkenhayn on the Western Front is regarded by competent observers as an indication that the big German offensive will soon begin. The abandonment of the Turk to his fate, the retirement on the Ankara, and the transfer of troops from Romania are held to be portents of the approaching storm, and that Hindenburg has elected to tempt fate on the Western Front. Meantime, it is believed that the enemy cannot long hold his present front line in Picardy, and that the Germans will be forced soon to yield more ground in the salient to the south of Arras. Bapaume is now in a critical position and may fall at any moment. The freighter Folio was sunk off the Irish coast by a submarine. 7 lives out of a crew of 78 were lost when the Cunarder went down. The vessel was torpedoed without warning 5 miles offshore. 1 American was on board. Enemy princes holding British titles will be deprived of their honors when the bill now before Parliament becomes law. The 3 delinquents are the Duke of Albany, who is the Duke of Saxon-Coburg, Prince Albert of Schleswig-Holstein, and the Duke of Cumberland. The Duke of Albany and the Duke of Cumberland are in the line of succession to the British throne, although far removed. There is great indignation in Britain at the delay in removing the names of these enemy princes from the roll of the British titled nobility. It was a day of progress on the Western Front and on the Tigris. Hold on, I'm going to grab some water. All right, here we go. Bapaume, now within grasp of General Haig's troops, who looked down on the town from the western ridge. The clearing out of the Germans from the Gaumecourt salient is slow but steady. More ground was yielded yesterday by the enemy in the Gaumecourt and Bapaume sectors. Major Murat, the military expert of the Berlin Tageblatt, says Hindenburg is now directing operations in the west and foreshadows a further retirement by the Germans. Closing in on Bapaume, the British again advanced on a front of over 1.5 miles southwest and west of the town, almost 1,000, good God, pushing back the rear guards that screened the enemy's retirement and gaining the crest of the ridge overlooking the town. Further British progress was made south of Achier-le-Petit, along a front of over 2,000 yards. Yeah, now I'm starting to clue in. I think all these little things we see like Le Grand and Le Petit, I think they're rivers. Southwest of Les Ezards, northwest of Gaumecourt, 1,000 yards of enemy trenches were occupied. A look at the map will show that the British thrusts at these points are rendering untenable the line at present held by the Germans between Arras and Bapaume, and must necessitate an early withdrawal. Northeast of Arras, the enemy made an unsuccessful attempt to reach the British trenches. East of Armentières, the British carried out raids. Heavy artillery bombardments of enemy positions took place north of the Somme and east of Arras, where 2 explosions were caused by the French guns. East of Armentières and in the Ypres sectors, the artillery developed an intense bombardment. The pursuit of the Turks northwest of Baghdad continues. On Tuesday last, the advanced This is the last page. Isn't that wild? British force had reached a point 30 miles up the river. Steps have been taken to prevent the flooding of Baghdad when the river rises. A Turkish small arms factory in good repair. Railway work. Oh yeah, this is it. This is where it's like they've taken tons of stuff. A Turkish small arms factory in good repair. Railway workshops, 5 locomotives, and some rolling stock were among the spoils taken over by the British. The British guns captured at Kut El Amara when Townsend surrendered were found in Baghdad. The occupation of Kermanshah by the Russians is unofficially reported. What Hindenburg wants is a trial of strength in the open. Oh yeah, this is another neato paragraph where they start talking about open warfare again. In the open, according to a cable dispatch from Stuart Lyon again, the Canadian press correspondent at Canadian headquarters in France. The Canadians, he adds, are tired of trench fighting and would welcome a return to open warfare. Hindenburg is just the man to test open warfare were the Allied commanders to accept the challenge. By open fighting, Hindenburg cannot mean a return to the conditions of 1870 or even the early days of 1914. The enormous increase in engines of war precludes such a possibility. There must come a time, however, when trench warfare will be considerably modified. Oh, it's so neat that he foreshadows what's about to happen. He just doesn't know. Just wait another year, dude. There must come a time, however, when trench warfare will be considerably modified, but the sacrifice of life when troops face machine guns and artillery on the open plain is too costly to contemplate an early abandonment of trench defenses so long as the integrity of the German army is intact. If this is Stuart Lyon's work, man, well done on you, man. The French first made use of cavalry in following up artillery and infantry attacks, and the success achieved by the French in cleaning up the work of the infantry has been followed by the British on 1 or 2 occasions. So long as the retirement of the Germans continues, the British guns and troops have to advance in the open, taking such cover as the abandoned defenses and terrain afford. And I think they're still working on, combined arms tactics, like how to coordinate tanks with the infantry and artillery support and all that stuff, the creeping barrage and, whatever. It's still work in progress, for goodness sakes. Anyways, well, away we go. On the Canadian front, the troops are experiencing the discomforts of but it's so much. We're here, man, watching it develop. It's so wicked. The discomforts of the French spring breakup. In an interview, a young Canadian officer informed Mr. Lyon that, so it's not him doing the above thing. Okay, interesting. But he's certainly providing the information. Mr. Lyon, that the Allied troops are in much better spirits and condition than the enemy. The depressing letters from home and the food shortage in Germany are affecting the morale of the enemy in the trenches. The Canadian troops are eager for the big adventure. The American steamer Algonquin has been torpedoed and sunk by a German submarine without warning. That's what unrestricted submarine warfare is all about, dude. The news has caused no surprise in official circles at Washington, in which war with Germany is regarded as inevitable. All the members of the crew were saved. The Algonquin is a cargo boat. The British steamer East Point, bound from London to Philadelphia with 2 Americans on board, was torpedoed and sunk without warning on March 9th. The vessel carried a gun and was accompanied by an armed patrol boat. So it had a gun too. 5 men were killed by the explosion. The British steamer Norwegian of the Leyland Line was seriously damaged by an explosion attributed to a mine. The vessel was beached. Interesting, because Leyland is part of the conglomerate thing there in the alien world. Interesting. Progress by the French is reported from the Champagne region, where the Germans continued the struggle as the salient west of Maison de Champagne. Lacrimosal shells. Yeah, I wrote that down as well. I got to go and look that up. I guess it's some kind of poison or something. Were rained on the French, who replied with grenades. In the Verdun area, the French guns carried out destructive fires in the German organizations. Violent bomb fighting took place on the Belgian front at Strietstraat and Estas. Victims of German submarines. Where's my water? numbering 13 British vessels of more than 1,600 tons, were sunk during the week ending March 11th. 4 British vessels of less than 600 tons each and 3 fishing vessels were also sunk by torpedoes and mines in the same period. Total loss of 26,000 tons in 1 week, or less than 4,000 tons a day, is far short of the 30,000 tons per day, which Germany set out to sink. The Lancashire cotton crisis has been averted by the adoption by Premier Lord George of Mr. Asquith's amendment, pledging the government to reopen the question after the war. Mr. Lloyd George defended the action of the government in granting to India a protective cotton tariff on the ground of India's services to the empire in this war. He further protested that if Lancashire's apprehensions regarding the effect on the cotton industry of the Indian tariff were well-founded, there would be no hesitancy on the part of the government in safeguarding the Lancashire industry, which is one of the empire's greatest assets. The most significant feature of the debate was the assurance by Mr. Lloyd George that India would render material service in the last stages of the war by adding to the manpower at the disposal of the Allies. And here we go with the biggie, as far as I'm concerned. China has broken, because it's not what they're going to obviously produce militarily. China has broken with Germany. Apart from its military importance to the Allies, the entry of China into the war must have a far-reaching effect upon the outlook of the Chinese people. Last year witnessed the death of the first president, Yuan Shikai, and the failure of the monarchist movement. Backed by Japan, the Republican leaders in China countered Yuan's monarchist ambitions with a rebellion in several provinces, which spread rapidly, forcing Yuan to abdicate the presidency in favor of General Li Wanhong. China may render effective aid in the making of munitions for Russia and supplying labor to the Allies in the field. Already, China has sent 100,000 coolies to France and Russia. China has seized several German steamers lying in Chinese ports since the outbreak of war. And that's it. The end of the live stream for well, it is going to be. I hope you have a great remainder of your weekend and a great week, and hope to see you next week. And if it's not next week, then it'll be for March 29th, which will be our 3-year anniversary, and that's going to be a dandy. I certainly hope to see you there, you bunch of Dreck fressers, you bunch of mud gluttons. All right, see you later.